So nothing new in the beginning of 3.4. They're just asking you to review what you've learned so far in chapter 3, and they're putting them together in less organized ways. So instead of dealing strictly with translations or reflections or even compressions and stretches, they're going to combine them now. So for this one, they're asking for a horizontal compression of a half and a translation of 3 to the left. Now if I use my handy dandy little cheat sheet here, I can see that in the middle I've written that I have to do my stretch and compression first. So I'm going to ignore the translation of 3 to the left for now, and I'm going to focus on my horizontal compression of a half. Now if it's a horizontal compression, that means that it's getting squished. So when I do my new points, I have to keep that in mind. Basically what's going to happen is I have to redo my points over here, and what I want to point out is this language can be a little tricky. It tells us that it's a horizontal compression of a half. That does not mean that B equals a half. It means that it's a compression of x, which is a whole number. So I've written that on here to remind myself that if I'm horizontally compressing x by a half, it's actually that my b equals 2. So that the compression will happen when I put it into the formula x over b. So when I write it over here, my new formula is going to be y equals f of 2x. So I know that the 2 is actually the b, which means I have to divide x by 2. So that's kind of that weird little part. We have to remember that it's actually an inverse relationship. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to make a note here that I'm changing to x over b. So when I rewrite my points, I'm going to put -4 over 2. So I have -2 and 3 as my new points. 0 over, oh well, that doesn't change. I'm not doing anything to my y. 2 over 2 and 4 over 2 here. 2 over 2 is 1 and 5. 4 over 2 is 2 and 5. So now I have my new points. I could graph those, but it tells me I still have to move them 3 sideways. So, I don't know. For this one, because you guys are just getting into it, I will graph these points and then we'll move them so you can see how that works. But if you were doing this in your books, you don't have to actually graph it and then move it. You could change your points again by moving them 3 this way, so to the negative, and then plotting them. But for now, whatever, it's all good. -2 and 3. -2 and 3. So this point has moved over like that. 0 and 2, still 0 and 2 because it's 0. 1 and 5, 1 and 5, so it's squished in halfway. 2 and 5, so it was out at 4, sorry. This was a 2, my bad. So it was at 4 and 2, and now it's at 2 and 2. So when I sorry, can't talk and draw. There we go. We can see that it has squished. It hasn't changed this way, and it hasn't moved this way yet. But now we want to translate it 3 this way. So I can just take this point and move it 3. 1, 2, 3. That means it's going to be at 5 and 3 now. Sorry, -5 and 3. So I'm going to change my color just so we can see this better. I just counted 3 over, but I could take this that way 3, and I'll get my new set, so I can do a new column here. Sorry about the mess. This one is going to be y equals f of 2, but then I'm moving x3 over. And you can see the +3 in your handy-dandy worksheet where it says if it's inside the function, it's going left, it's x plus the number that I'm given. So I'm moving this one 3 over, this becomes negative 5 and 3, that's that guy there. And then this one's going to be 3 over as well, so this point becomes negative 3 and negative 2. This one becomes negative 2 and 5. This one becomes negative 1 and 2. And you can see how that works just by going, this one is going to be 1, 2, 3, and 2. So that's my negative 3 and negative 2. And this point is at 1, so 1, 2, 3. It's going to be at negative 2 and 5. And my final point at negative 1 and 2. So that was this point, and it just went 1, 2, 3 over to negative 1 and 2. So then we connect the little dots, and we can see that our blue hasn't changed shape, it's just shifted over 3. So we can map it by the points. Yeah, we can map it by the points, either by doing the blue graph and then the red graph, or we could have just taken these points and shifted them to these ones and then graphed those. It's a little easier to look at, I guess, if you change the shape first and then change the location so that you can tell you've done both things.